If you'll please follow me, we'll head to our first exhibit. This is the UGN exhibit. This was initially pulled off of a facility from 2016 that was used for a very large community meeting, one of the first recorded community meetings here on Halo 5 in the 2016 era. This sword here came directly out of the meeting hall, and these pillars on the left and right were pulled directly from the main hall where the meeting took place. But Griffinizer these days runs a different clan every month, so we decided to just put this one here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this small little UGN exhibit. Let's head over to the next one. Right here, this is the Terran Federation exhibit. A door right here to the far left made by Shadow Sniper himself. You can find this on multiple Terran Federation facilities that are on the custom browser, sometimes. It was framed after Halo 3, if I'm correct. And then right here we have 3 flags that we got off of a Terran Marine training facility. This right here is a Terran Marine symbol that we pulled off of a Marine training installation. Anyway, let's head down the main hall. So the main hall we have in the center, one of our biggest pieces, is a Galactic Empire, I believe it's a TIE Striker. This was made by Grand Moff Youngling in, I believe, late 2017, if you want to correct me on that. It could be a 2018 era vehicle. It was one of the first vehicles I've seen that is welded and they use chromas. Those black pieces right there, those are actually chromas, so you can just jump right through them. It makes the vehicle extremely light and maneuverable. These are really cost-effective and easy to produce. They were used on, I think, Galactic Empire training facilities, like a basic training installation where it would patrol the skies. Very combat effective, very easy to produce, and overall just a very sleek weapon. Right here we have a really unique piece. The Commonwealth was ran by Shadow Sniper 172, and eventually would succumb to its war with Vast, but this piece here was probably one of the most recognizable pieces you could find regarding the Commonwealth. This was used for about 2 or 3 different speeches Shadow Sniper gave. Those microphones also were later on used in a Colonial Federation era speech that Shadow would give. I believe it was the speech where he would launch the Colonial Federation, actually. But we have a Commonwealth flag with the iconic Commonwealth speakers and podium. Over here to the left, we have a carpet that was pulled directly out of the Halcyon Capitol building. And then right here we have a cabinet full of weaponry. To the far left right here, we have the iconic Halcyon Nightblade rifle, a Nightblade bayonet. You all know what the Nightblade does. It's primarily more effective against vehicles, but the Halcyons have been using it since 2016, I believe, maybe even earlier. But for the most part, the 2016 era rifle was used predominantly in 2017 in the more successful eras of the NRI, and it's still used to this day, but not as widely as it once was. Now, to the right of it, we have a Ortarian signature DMR with a standard bayonet. And then over here to the far right, obviously the perfect position for this, is Halcyon Vazari's handgun. This was donated by Clan Orta because we captured this. Some say it's never been fired, some say it was only used on Vazari himself. Now over here on the left, this blue flag, this is a UUF flag, United Fleet Federation. This was an organization that was started in Halo 4 and had a couple rough patches, transferred over to MCC, and then eventually Halo 5. It was led by General Chariot. I do not remember his original gamer tag in Halo 4, but it is listed in our server. Later, General Chariot would change his gamer tag to Noble Minister, and he would eventually end, unfortunately, the United Fleet Federation. The United Fleet Federation would have one of the more advanced operating government systems, framed off the British Parliament. Right here we have the Westeros throne. Those of you guys that are all about Game of Thrones, you probably already know more about the lore behind this than I do. But Clan Orta, since we annexed the majority of Westeros territory, we decided to donate this piece to the collection because Westeros did have a very strong culture. Although it wasn't an extremely successful clan, it did have a very strong culture and very well-known architecture. So we have the Westeros flag here. We also have the map of Westeros that was also used as a table. I don't know if it was used as a table in the show or not. Again, you guys would know more about this. But yeah, that is the throne, commonly used by the King of Westeros, and the table actually is probably the most used piece out of all the Westeros stuff here. And now over to the far right over here, we have a TFS shield and spear. This was scavenged off of a, I think, early 2018 facility, maybe 2019. The facility date we did not grab, but we did manage to get this off of a TFS facility. And if you look for TFS facilities on the custom browser or the file share, you will find this shield and the spear commonly used. That is the west wing over here. Please follow me. The centerpiece right here, this is the UUF Super Cannon. This was made by Century Strike in early 2016, maybe late 2015. Those of you that were on Halo 5 when it first came out, you'd know that Forge was not available to us. So we couldn't do anything. We basically were stuck with Warzone, Big Team Battle. But eventually, when Forge came out, Strike made this cannon. It was able to turn around 360 degrees, excuse me. And it was mostly used on Red Dawn facilities, FIS facilities, small Century satellite states, or Ortarian Imperial states. This actually can be seen on the custom browser this day. You'll probably find the gun. Very cheap, cost-effective piece, really nice, very simple, and was one of the first cannons, I believe, built here on Halo 5. We'll keep moving. Over here to the far right, we have a United Union Federation flag, UUF flag. This was made by Century Strike as well. Yes, it was made by Century Strike, and this flag was used by a bunch of communist clans to follow after him.
Wow, that's hilarious.
So, yeah, even though the United Union Federation didn't have a strong presence on Halo 5, they did create artifacts that would then be passed on to different communist or Soviet-themed clans. So this flag was not only used by Century States, but it was also used by the Red Dawn, as I previously stated, with the cannon, and it was also used by the FIS, the Federation of Independent States. This is the NRI exhibit. The piece in the far back here comes from their Capitol building. On the far right, there's a standard Halcyon flag used in, I think actually it's still used to this day, but it was originally created in 2016. I don't have an exact date on the top of my head for when the NRI was founded. I know the original NRI was created in Halo Reach. And then over on the left side of the exhibit, you'll see just their standard little Halcyon seal. In Helghast lore, there's a term for what that emblem is called, but I do not know. But that's their exhibit. Right over here, we have a THL exhibit. This one's actually pretty interesting because not a lot of people know about THL. But THL is extremely influenced by Gears of War. One of the only clans I'm aware of that is extremely influenced by Gears of War. And you can clearly see that in the architecture that we pulled from maps that they were able to donate artifacts from. Over to the far left, we have a giant THL flag from their embassy. We have a standard THL flag in the rear back there. And then we have this odd defensive barrier, I think used for guarding armories. Energy barrier, the far right over there. And then on the left, we have a THL autocannon. This was never scripted. It was not weaponized, but it was just an aesthetic piece that they could use. Really, really cool. Just a little autocannon that could be found on their installations. So that's our THL exhibit. Right over here, we have the Divinity or Divine Angels exhibit. The Divine Angels would eventually transfer over now in 2021. They would change into Divinity. A brand change, I guess. But the Divine Angels, we all know who they are. They're one of the most well-known angelic-themed clans. You can find tons of information that we've listed in the server about this organization. Everything from YouTube to wiki information and even like a miniature bio about their organization right here. But yeah, Divinity would eventually use the arch in 2016. This little arch over here to the left that you see. This was used on basic training facilities, and it was one of the first things you would see entering the Divine Angels. And then over here on the far right of the exhibit, this flag would eventually be created. My dating could be wrong, but around 2018, we started seeing this flag pop up, and it would be used a lot over the next few years in 2020 and 2021. Let's move over to the next exhibit. This exhibit is our Galactic Empire exhibit. We made sure to get the floor correct. And and you'll notice that the floor is actually a really important piece in this. It's that black, glassy gloss look that you'll see in the movies on the Death Star or even in Star Destroyers. They always have a really shiny floor. A lot of people clean their floor, I guess. The Galactic Empire had a giant seal. Unfortunately, we couldn't fit the more modern flag in the exhibit. It's a higher detail, so that means it's going to be more expensive. But we were able to put this in here. Their giant Galactic Empire banner. The Galactic Empire also is really known for using those crates over there, just because it has a very Star Wars aesthetic, so you'll find that a lot on Imperial facilities or former Imperial facilities. And then the table, too. The table design is also very well used by the Galactic Empire. They always have these very tiny tables, and then on the far right over there, you'll see that light rack. We all know what that is. If you've watched Star Wars, you know what that is. That is the lights that you'll see in Star Destroyers or in the Death Star or any just Imperial installation. It's the classic Star Wars aesthetic. The Galactic Empire would be known for being the most successful Star Wars clan arguably to date, subjugating about 99% of the Star Wars community, crushing any republic that would rise or any fake empire that they would label. They are also known for their war with the Mandalorians, pretty much wiping out any and all resistance from the Mandalorians and their war bands. Mandalorians actually would eventually join the Galactic Empire, and some of those Mandalorians that joined the Galactic Empire are even here on this tour today. Let's move on. My favorite exhibit, of course, the Clan Orta exhibit. This stage piece was directly donated by us from the May the Bridges We Burn video. That's the speech where I talk about the Colonial Federation, and this is the stage I made. I made sure to donate this piece. It was very difficult choosing what piece we were going to donate. But, of course, we have the iconic Ortarian flag, 5 stripes, and the podium. So there's not much to say. You guys have probably seen our videos, and everything and anything you want to find out about Clan Orta is listed in our bio in the server. So website, wiki, YouTube channel, all of our media outlets. So moving on to the next exhibit here, this is the Colonial Federation exhibit. The Colonial Federation was a pretty large-scale clan in 2017, having approximately 200 members, to my knowledge, if anybody wants to correct me on that. The Colonial Federation had a colony-based system and a senate, and this came directly out of their Capitol building. That chair up there was used by Shadow Sniper. I even managed to grab the overshields that was always sitting in the chair. We have the Colonial Federation pillar right here. This pillar on the left actually isn't that close in the real building. It's not that close to the chair. This pillar can be seen throughout the entire building, and it's widely used. The standard Federation flag, along with Shadow's kind of podium as well. Beneath him, you'd have a couple other chairs, and then, of course, the senators and governors had their red chairs, but we didn't include that in this. Here we have one of my favorite pieces, actually. This is the Colonial Federation Red Guard statue. If you go on to the map, again, you'll find this right outside the main security room. This is pretty cool just because they took advantage of the fact that there's like a forge piece that's a Spartan. They painted the same colors, and it's just kind of iconic, especially the blue light. There's a blue light right on top. I made sure to grab that from the actual map, and it's shining down on the guy. Anyway, let's move on to the battle exhibit. Over here to the right, we have the Battle for Armus. This is one of the more iconic battles in Halo 5 community history. We have a standard Halcyon anti-tank trap, and we have an exhibit of the entire battle. We actually pulled a piece of Firebase Armus off the original map, and we stuck it right in here. Just the most iconic piece of the facility. There's not much to say about what you see in front of you, but I could give you some details about the battle. The battle was known as Shadow Sniper's Waterloo, where he'd take the Fed Guard and lead it, unfortunately, a fruitless assault against Halcyon and Ortarian forces, where we would successfully defeat Shadow Sniper and cripple the Federation. We also had to grab the Wasp. A Wasp was extremely important in this battle, actually. So we had to make sure that we grabbed the Wasp and put it in here, because the Wasp was able to provide air support for the entire firebase. Actually, this is my favorite piece in the whole museum, just because it's the most iconic inanimate object or prefab, I think, out of anything here. This is the flag that Shadow talks about that was burning in the dirt. Vizari and myself forged this flag, and Vizari had the idea of putting it in the dirt on the side of the base, and I made sure to cover it up with trash and kind of mess it up and put some fire on it. And after the NRI took that base in a practice raid, we decided to forge it together, and because Vizari and I would forge a lot together, so we put this on the side of the map, and this would be the flag that Shadow Sniper famously would say was burning in the dirt. And this little object here was one of the reasons why the Colonial Federation would go to war, and they would use this in their speech. So if you guys ever want to check out that speech, Shadow does mention the flag, and I think even shows a shot of it. So anyway, moving on. Over here is the Great Raid exhibit. Although this is really recent, we felt that it was appropriate to put it here just because this is, to date, the longest raid that has taken place on Halo 5, with a total of 19 hours and 30 minutes. Clan Orta and the UNR would perform a routine training operation where UNR forces would defend their facility from Ortarian attackers. And during our routine training operation, Neo-Halcyon partisans unfortunately decided to attack us. Important to note that they failed to even get into the game and had to ask UNR Eisen, one of the directors of UNR, for permission to enter the facility. And were allowed to enter the game, and then we proceeded to engage them for 19 hours and 30 minutes. So we have the UNR flag right up here on the upper right, and a chunk of the base, of course, taken from the right flank, actually. Now, another cool little thing, I'd say most people that were at the battle would know what I'm talking about when I reference this. This warthog right here, we had to put this warthog in the exhibit because there was a warthog on the map that the UNR provided for attacking personnel. And that warthog, I swear to God, for 2 hours straight, a Halcyon officer would get into it in spawn, drive straight to the base in a straight line, and then we'd blow him up at the gates. And he did it over and over again. This is the assault on Camp Pteroside. This is a piece from the Halcyon Wars between Clan Orta and the NRI, of course. Initially, I didn't want to put a exhibit like this in here for political reasons. I thought it would be inappropriate. But I also did think about it from just the average Joe point of view. I figured some people would want to see a Halcyon Wars exhibit, and this was a very important battle at the time. This was the first assault that was a non-regulated assault, so that means this was a surprise attack. There was no ROE here. We decided to surprise attack one of their training installations. A 6-hour battle would ensue, where Clan Orta would be victorious. And directly afterward, the enemy, or the NRI, they would shut down internal recruitment and training without Reich's Guard authorization. And this severely crippled their organization. This next one might not be known by some of you. Recently, it's been named the Sac and Bellicose. But this specific battle was between the Divine Angels at the time and Bellicose. This is the Bellicose flag you can see over here on the left. And DA, or Divinity, still uses, I believe, that flag to the right. We had to include one of their arches. This arch in their lore is a portal from their divine realm to the mortal realm, and it can be found on a lot of their installations. Cool fact is we had to disable it just because we wanted to seem more appropriate. If it was open, then, you know, Axios would just walk right on through here into the exhibit, and that would be kind of awkward. So this battle, though, the specific battle that this exhibit is after does not have a name, but overall the conflict is referred to as the Sac and Bellicose. And this battle, you can actually watch a video about it, and Axios does provide a speech, and all the information regarding this is, again, in the Discord if you want to check it out. Right here, this has been recently named, this exhibit over here to the left, has recently been named the Battle of Four Kings. So, some of you probably forgot about this. But this battle was initially instigated by Westeros. Azosia had a few of their members and a media guy gather on a facility. The name of the facility is unknown to this day, I believe. But they gathered on this facility, and what they did was Westeros essentially surprise attacked Azosia. The battle would last 6 hours, and 4 kings would participate in it. TFS, King Leonidas, AFS, and King Asteri of Azosia, and King Ozark of Westeros. So the 4 kings would duel it out for about 6 hours. The base was extremely overpowered with invisible boundaries everywhere, so it was impossible to get in without going through the front gate. Westeros would arrange the surprise attack, but ultimately would fail. Ultimately, Westeros would fail, and the surprise attack would then be turned around and result as a victory for the PL, or Peloponnesian League at the time. I believe AFS Spartan was his name. But we do have an actual Westeros flag there, along with a Azosia flag, and a piece of the facility. And then we have a iconic Azosia tent. It's been used by many medieval clans, but I believe it was developed by Azosia. And lastly, we have one last piece. That was the Terran Federation tank used by the Terran Federation, produced at a time when welded vehicles were used by many, many clans, but they weren't necessarily practical. But the Terran Federation developed it. I believe it was designed by Johnson, and it was a low-budget, cost-effective vehicle with weak points on it, intentionally designed to make the vehicle more fair for people to use. Cool fact about the tank was it actually had the Terran logo on the side, which is something you don't really see a whole lot. If you guys like the museum, I'm going to publish it like right now after it's over, so you guys could check it out with your members. You could put a different game type on so you could run around, you don't have to walk. If you guys want to keep walking around and check it out, I'll leave the game on. You guys could leave if you wish. You could stay, do whatever you guys like. I hope I was able to do. I hope I was able to perform a good enough tour for you guys, and hopefully you weren't bored to death. So anyway, yeah, like I said, download it, check it out, show your members, get in the server, and thank you guys for attending.